the cold email script matters a lot less than you actually think it does. The two most important things for a cold email campaign are the targeting and the offer. So picking somebody that wants what you sell and then selling them something that they want to buy.
All right, we're rolling, Alex. Thanks so much for joining me, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited today. As we were talking about before, I've been in sales for a long time. I know you, you're the master of cold email, right? The author of the cold email manifesto. You have a few different SaaS companies. Is that right?
Yeah, author of Cold Email Manifesto. We just had a 7-figure exit earlier this year on one of our SaaSes, and now I'm doing Omni.us, which is a cold email sending tool. Going to be the best cold email sending tool on the market.
Heck yeah, man. Well, I can't wait to talk about that. But before we jump into all of that, I'd love to just hear about your story coming up. I like to hear about everything that that led you to this point. So take us all the way back. Like, how did you get to this point?
Sure. So I started as a junior sales guy at an agency in New York City, and we had a lot of meetings coming in inbound, but it wasn't enough to fill everybody's calendars. So everyone else on the team would have a bunch of these meetings stacked up, and I would be there, just kind of picking up the scraps. So I took it upon myself to start generating leads for the agency, and eventually I was able to drive enough revenue that they made me the director of marketing. So I did that in New York City, used that as like a case study to start our own agency, used cold email to grow that agency, and have been just doing it ever since, making YouTube videos, writing books about it now, and hyping up the skill of cold email, because it really is a superpower. Being able to send an email to somebody that doesn't know you, pitch your product or service to them, and do it in a way that they actually respond to is key for literally everything, bro. Like we've got feedback from billionaires off of on Taplio. We've gotten enterprise clients like Tesla to sign up to some of our SaaS companies, and booked meetings with our agency with people like Dunkin' Donuts and JP Morgan Chase and stuff like that, all through the power of outbound. So I love it, man. That's what I've dedicated my life to now, is just preaching how cool mastering cold email could be.
Heck yeah, dude. I like that. Now that's an interesting transition to go from junior sales rep to a marketing guy, right? Like typically in my experience, you see like reps kind of progress through like sales manager, and maybe they go to this new position that's like CRO. But it's interesting that you went from sales to marketing, because we both know that there's not really a huge difference, right? The differences matter enough to where they're separate, but take us through like what made you go the marketing route instead of maybe like a sales manager route.
Sure. I've always been more interested in marketing because it requires you not to talk to as many people. Like I always like I'm still on the internet money thing of like, I love being able to wake up to buyers in my inbox, or like having all that happen, meetings on the calendar without having to do anything, which is probably why I love cold email more than like cold calling. But the reason why I ended up more in marketing is because to generate these leads, it wasn't enough to go out there and do the traditional sales stuff, like go to networking events and shake hands. We had to get good at SEO. We had to rank in directories. We had to make YouTube videos and do all this content and cold email and outbound and stuff like that. So that was just the role where it came in. Also, I think it didn't help that there was already a director of sales that was in the position. So I wasn't going to take his job. And in fact, he's better at his job than I would have been at his job. So that's why we ended up in marketing, which is just lead generation, right? That's the difference, I think, in between marketing and sales. Sales is about closing, and marketing is about generating the opportunities. Sometimes marketing is also about closing too. But for the higher value products, the stuff we were selling, the software we were selling was $50,000, $150,000, sometimes $1 million contracts. So you're not going to sell that via PayPal or just a buy form. So in that exact sense, marketing was lead gen, and that's where we ended up.
That's sweet. So and then how did you know that you had a knack for cold email?
Dude, early on. So before I even got this job, I was watching this YouTube video a long time ago about product development. And one of the things that you did in lean product development is you emailed potential customers and asked for their feedback. And so I saw some woman talk about that maybe in 2009, 2010. And I sent cold emails to people like the CEO of Udemy and like a bunch of these Silicon Valley startups. I was over in Florida. I didn't know anybody. And these guys responded. Like I was, and I ended up on the phone with the CEO of Udemy in about, a day or two after sending these cold email campaigns. And then I was like interviewing Neil Patel for a college project and like all this shit. So I got hit by the cold email bug super early on when I realized that you don't need to know anybody. You can just go out there and just ask them for things and they'll give it to you.
Right. Well, and I just made a video about this on my YouTube channel, which is like the number one, rule of selling is to ask. Like you never get anything if you don't ask. Right. And of course, and I'm sure out of all of the emails that you've sent, you've probably got a lot of no's, but the yeses matter more.
Yeah. So when we were going, I'll even give you a recent example. When we were getting the enterprise clients for that SaaS, we ended up getting Tesla, Prezi, McKinsey, like a bunch of these guys in just a couple of weeks, emailing them. But yeah, those are the ones that I focus on. I don't focus on the maybe, 70, 80 that said no. And I don't focus on the 500 that didn't even open the email or whatever. Yeah, you just focus on the wins. That's the way you get through any of this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. What makes the difference between a really good cold email and a really bad cold email?
Okay, so a lot of people want to say it's the script. The cold email script matters a lot less than you actually think it does. Two most important things for a cold email campaign are the targeting and the offer. So picking somebody that wants what you sell and then selling them something that they want to buy. And if you have those two things down, then it doesn't matter if you send a 1-sentence email, a 5-paragraph email, or whatever, even like a cold text or a handwritten note, that message is going to get through if the need is there and the buyer's there. So that's what I always think about. There's 3 points that I like to think about when coming up with a campaign. So it's target. Who is the exact person I'm reaching out to? What is their job title? What is their company size? Then it's offer. What is the thing at the high level that I'm selling? Whether it's Facebook ads or mobile app development or marketing reviews, whatever it is. And then the third thing is case study. So what is the proof that I have that this works? Or what is the thing that I've done that proves that I'm the person to do this? And then once you have those 3 things, then the email kind of writes itself. So let's say, for instance, I'm selling marketing services like we do at X27, our marketing agency. And I'll say my target is directors of sales and CEOs at agencies in the United States that are currently sponsoring on clutch.co, right? That's how specific you want to get it. Then the offer would be improving their marketing. And the case study would be, I took Dom and Tom, a New York City agency, from 5 million in revenue to 6 million in revenue in 6 months. And now I have the case study. And so all I got to do for the email campaign is put that into an email, like, hey, Mark, saw your agency on clutch.co. Glad you're trying to grow the company. Would love to help. I just got Dom and Tom an extra $1 million in revenue in the last 6 months and would love to do the same for you. Mind if I send over a few times for a quick call? Yeah. That's all you need.
That's great. Well, and it's beautiful too, because I love cold. I'm a huge fan of cold email. I'm also a huge fan of cold calling. I like it. It's fun for me. But that's the idea. And you know what's so funny is I love that counterintuitive approach, because people will spend so much time and money on finding the right copy in there, but their offer stinks or they're not talking to the right people. And so how do you figure out the right person to talk to? I feel like that's a big one, right? Like niching down or target market. Like when you're talking to sales guys, like that just blows right over our heads. And for me, that's been always the hardest thing.
I start with the offer first. So I always try to take the offer to some place where it shows that they're clearly either making money, saving money, or saving time. And making money is the one that I really like. So for instance, when we were coming up with the approach for Omni, for our cold email tool, I wrote down 3 for each of these. I was like, what are 3 ways Omni will help you make money? Well, it's going to fill your sales team's calendar with meetings. It's going to generate higher quality sales because you're sending out these cold email campaigns. It'll generate more leads than you ever thought possible, right? So I'm going to come up with 3 of those for make money, 3 for save money. You can fire your sales team and run it all off one automated system. Like whatever, and then save time. So save time by avoiding low quality prospects and only focus on high quality ones. Whatever. And then all three of those can be tested within a cold email campaign. So part of it's going to be gut feeling, but a lot of it's just going to be raw data, because then we'll take each of those. So we have 9. We'll take each of those and we'll send 200 cold emails using each one of those benefit statements. And then from there, we should have some data to iterate on.
Wow.
But that's what it all comes down to. And then for selecting the actual target themselves, it comes after the offer. So for instance, let's say I have Omni and I realize it's going to make them money by booking their sales team solid. Who am I talking to? I'm talking to either director of sales or a CEO, right? If I'm selling an SDR, sort of like maybe Amazon Web Service optimization, where I'll save them money on their server and their hosting costs. Who am I talking to? Probably the CEO or the CTO there. So the offer determines the targeting, right? You figure out who is going to actually benefit from this offer inside the company the most, and then that's the person you pitch.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I'm taking notes now, man, because that's gold. That's money. Because that's like a non-traditional. I feel like it's a non-traditional way, because whenever you read through, I follow all the guys on Twitter, right? And it's like target, then your offer. And I'm just like, dang, man, that's difficult. But that makes it more sense, right? Like, this is what I want to give to people, who's most likely to buy it, and then get after it. Now, I got a little ahead of myself, Alex, because I love the nitty gritty, but I also love the story. Like, how did you know? And I guess I kind of asked that earlier, but like, is this something that you always wanted to do? Like, you had your sights set on being in sales, being in marketing, and building companies, or did your life take a crazy turn?
Ever since I was a kid, I liked Steve Jobs and I liked the business guys, and I wanted to have a nice conglomerate of companies, bro. I even remember as a kid stacking up like boxes and building skyscrapers in my mom's office. So yeah, dude, I've always wanted to do this.
Yeah. What was that in your family? You grew up in like an entrepreneurial home, or?
Yeah, my parents had their own office. They were selling medical supplies. My dad actually invented colored latex gloves.
Oh,
so
wow.
There was a glove shortage because apparently before like the 80s, doctors didn't have to wear gloves in their offices, and then AIDS happened, and all of a sudden everyone was like, well, you need to wear gloves now. And so there was a massive shortage. And my dad went down to Mexico and found a balloon manufacturer that was able to make these gloves. And it was just right product, right time, with a lot of cold calling, a lot of pushing. So I saw that early on. Yeah. Like family business, family office, all that sort of stuff.
Wow, that's sick. So, I mean, you kind of, even back then it worked, right? Maybe it wasn't email, but it was like showing up on the door, knocking on the door.
Well, that one was, hardcore cold calling. To medical offices, dentist offices, doctors' offices, that sort of stuff. Just
like slinging gloves. That's the cool thing about it, right? Like, I love that, because there's a lot of talk on Twitter. I mean, we both are in there, right? Like, there's always a lot of talk on Twitter of like, get high value skills. And I'm like, and then they list a bunch, and I'm like, dude, just learn how to sell. And then find I heard Alex Hormozi say it, and he just articulated it well. He was like, find the highest price thing you can sell, learn how to sell, and then go sell it, and you'll make a lot of money. And easier said than done, but certainly like sales is one of the big ones, right?
Yeah, this one, I'm still trying to find a product like this, bro, because it was super high margin. Right? It was like 90%, 95% profit margins. The customers were super easy to contact, right? You just call them and they answer the phone. And then it was an incredibly high demand. It's like they need gloves legally. Nobody else has them. So here you go.
Yeah, dude. When you have that kind of like, when you have that, that kind of like what is it called? Anyway, when you have that kind of like backing of the government, like it's a law, I mean, then it's like, all right, well, now we just got to pick on, And if it's slim pickings, then you got a really high chance of being that. And okay, so for a lot of people, so you end up in the cold email world and the marketing world, right? And I mean, I know you get this all the time, but I'd love to like explore your thoughts on the people who will come to you with the concern of email, like being spam or like stop email. You know what I mean? Like, it's very typical. Like, I know what I would think when I hear that. I know what I think when I hear that as a lifelong sales guy, cold caller. But I'm just curious, like, how do you combat that with people who really need to get ahead, but they've got this wall of like, I don't want to be that guy?
All marketing is interruption marketing. That's what I always say. Like, you're going to go to Facebook and you'll see a Facebook ad. That's the exact same as getting a cold email. So I just see it like that.
Yeah.
A lot of people say that Facebook ads are even kind of like more of an inbound marketing technique, but I think Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, and all of those sort of advertising actually counts as outbound the exact same way. So I see it all as the same type of marketing. So if you're worried about running Facebook ads, yeah, you can be worried about running cold emails as well, but how are you going to grow?
Yeah, that's true. That's right. I mean, I know, and it just seems so obvious, but I get in these, like, whenever I'm like talking with people, because I'm like a freelance sales consultant too. So I'll just go to people and we'll do 100% commissions and we'll do that. And so, but what I do in there is I'll vet their offer and I'll vet their marketing plan, because I don't want to come in and have to redo this crap on 100% commission. But so when we're talking about it though, we'll be talking about it and I'll be like, well, are you running ads? Are you doing this stuff? And it's always like, either they're scared of that, but that's an interesting way of thinking about it, because I've never thought of Facebook as like outbound. I've always thought of it as like the inbound, right? But it makes sense because you're interrupting someone's day. Someone's got to take time out of their day to fill this thing out because you caught their attention. And the script is a big deal, right? That offer and target market kind of come before that. But when you're writing the script, is there any kind of like what's the science behind writing it? Because when I first started writing, like, I'm a sales guy, like I'll talk your ear off and all these things, right? And we'll talk and I'll ask questions, right? Because when I was learning copywriting, the biggest thing that hit me was, like when you're in a sales conversation, I can get instant feedback. Like I can ask somebody, I can like go through a little pitch and then I can ask somebody for feedback and I can get it right away. And so we can kind of continue the conversation because I can like pivot in real time. And with copywriting and writing emails, like that's not always the case. Right. And so, how do you, so I guess with that as like where I'm coming from, what's the science behind the script? Or like, what do you tell people?
The framework I like to use is called the 3 C's. So compliment, case study, call to action. Compliment, like, hey, big fan of your company, love your growth story. Case study, we just did this thing for this company and would love to do the same for you. And then call to action. Mind if I send over a few times for a quick call? So 3 C's, bro. That's all you need. Compliment, case study, call to action.
And that's it for you. That's your bread and butter.
Yeah, for the initial email, and then the follow-ups. Typically, I'll use one that's just a quick bump. So like, hey, name. I'm sure you're busy. Wanted to make sure this didn't get buried. Then the third one would be like a big news sort of one. So like, just got off the phone with the CMO for XYZ company, and they were having similar issues to you. They were just dealing with XYZ, and here's how we fixed it. This. Would love to do the same for you if you're experiencing this. Mind if I send over a couple times for a quick call? And then the fourth email is a breakup email. So, like, hey, name. At this point, I'll assume increasing your sales is not a priority for this year. Let me know if that changes. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah.
That's it. We're really doing 4 contacts, and then we'll do omni-channel too. If they're a high value customer, we'll do handwritten notes. We'll do, trying to find an event that they're at and maybe going and chasing them down that way. Like, there's a lot of other stuff you can do if you really need these customers.
Well, yeah, at that point, then it's like do whatever you got to do to make it work. Or like at least do as much as you can do. Because I feel like that's what you got to do as salespeople. Like you got to be able to go home and even if you didn't win, you got to be able to go back and be like, I did everything that I could. Right. And that's what in my mind keeps salespeople going. Go ahead.
I'm surprised most people don't do it. And I think it's incentives. Like what you said, 100% commission based. That's all I do too. Like the 7-figure, the SaaS acquisition was exactly that. These guys had a SaaS company. I pitched them on taking over their marketing in exchange for equity. And then I just, wrote their website and did all the marketing and took it up to the right valuation. And then we sold it. And now I'm just doing that. That's where all my cold emailing is going now. I don't even run the agency or anything anymore because that's the biggest ROI on time. So I think once you get incentives aligned, it makes sense to just do as much as you possibly can to increase sales. and especially when you're going like 0 to 1. I'm surprised that salespeople aren't, going to events to increase their, to hit their numbers or doing all this stuff to hit their numbers when they have to.
Yeah. But you know what? I think what happened, okay. So I'm in Utah, and it's like, I don't know, they call it like Silicon Slopes, and there's a ton of tech companies like Adobe's here, and there's a ton of other big Qualtrics and all these guys. Right. But I feel like, but after I went into tech, cause I'm like from the point where it's like, we were always like, I've always been 100% commission for the most part. Right. Until I got like into management, and then it was a little different, but for the most part, like, I feel like when people are in tech, they get kind of like this entitled. So you see, like, I'm also pretty like involved with LinkedIn. And so you get all these like tech guys, these SaaS guys who are like, they have base, they're real cushy. They think the sales process is like months and months. And it's always just so funny because if you didn't have the base, how long would the sales process really take? You know what I mean? Could you figure out how to like quicken? I'm not saying you can sell $1 million in a day, although I've gotten pretty close to that. But would it change if you didn't have that cushy base and you needed it tomorrow? And I think the answer is yes. But now we've got all these guys who are like, if the base doesn't make sense, I'm not going to take the job. When it's like, dude, you're selling, like, these commissions are crazy. You should be in there hustling. And then you pass the buck to like the company. Well, like, the company's not sending me to these places. Like, the company's not doing this for us. And it's like, bro, we're salespeople. We eat what we kill. Like, we're hunters, man.
Yeah, and one of the things that we're still working on is the exact SaaS offer too, because you look at like a Qualtrics, you look at these guys, their sales cycles are really long. But if you look at the fast growing bootstrap startups that have the fully commissioned teams, their offers are different, bro. Like, they're doing, the sales guys are out there selling like a $2,000 onboarding call, and then the annual plan is not even commission. They don't even get a commission on that. So that's the sort of offer that we're spinning up now at our SaaS companies. I probably shouldn't even say this on a podcast, honestly, but like, you look at like how Connected grew, or you look at how some of these other SaaS companies grew. It's all that, because the biggest issue with giving commission to salespeople is, for SaaS, normally the commission is way too small. And when you want a bigger commission, you want to sell the annual plans, now the sales cycle increases. So the fix to that is the higher priced onboarding calls.
Interesting. That's crazy, dude, because it's true. I actually left tech because I was okay at it. I did pretty good, but my love was always like retail, like B2C stuff. Because that's just where I shined. I love getting on calls with people and selling. But it was different though, because I just remember getting always like, also from management in the couple companies I was with. So I remember my last tech company, I read a few books because I was like, dude, they're like, they were a young company. I was like, we don't really have our messaging down. So if I'm going to succeed, I got to figure this shit out on my own. Like, I got to figure out how to pitch this. And I just remember like getting on calls and like figuring out like what worked. And I was like, oh yeah, this works. And then just like, hey, that's not what we do. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I just sold it. It is what you do because it works. And I don't know, just like it's all the red tape that comes with like these Series A, B, C, like funding, and where you just have a lot of red tape. That's why I like freelance selling a lot, because you can do cold emails. You can really just take these companies and be like, hey, look, if you want me, I'll sell for you. I'll make it work. You don't have to pay me until you get paid, but let me do my own thing. And for the most part, it's like, all right, cool. Sounds good to me. Because it's a no-brainer. It's like, you get a professional sales guy to sell for you on 100% commission. All right, cool. That's what a lot of people do. I just don't think salespeople take advantage of that as much as they should.
No, for real. Because I'm doing freelance marketing. I guess that's how you would call what I do through your lens.
Well, yeah. Whatever you want to call it, I guess, right?
Well, if I were you, I would just start taking equity in the companies and then push them. Because what I've been doing is we take equity in the company and then we increase the revenue by so much. This is what I don't understand, bro. The marketers are so shitty at their jobs that even for most of these SaaSes, you can add 20K, 30K of MRR, and then you're like a rock star and the company's now ready to sell. Because a lot of these indie makers, you might not see them if you're on money Twitter, but if you're on indie maker Twitter, these guys will brag about making $1,000 numbers in a year. Like, hey, it's been a long grind, but now we're ending 2020. We finally hit 1,000 MRR. So all you have to do is take that startup, promote it to your audience, or do cold emails, or even do like a small ad spend, and you could take them from 1,000 MRR to 30,000 MRR, like we did with Taplio, and then you're good to go.
Dude, that's great though. It is, because I do, and that's interesting. So let's maybe talk about this, because I do get a lot of people on this podcast who listen who want to do like freelancing stuff, because I'm not a 9-to-5 basher. Like, I mean, I'm part of a sales team right now, is like, I guess, quote unquote, like 9-to-5, but I also do all of my side gigs, which is like just selling and copywriting. And so when you talk about equity, I've always explored this, but I've never really known how to do it. But and I've always kind of shied away from like equity and like exiting, because like the normal freelancer probably isn't going to experience that. But if you're going to negotiate equity, like, what does that look like? How do you begin that process?
Sure. So I always make sure the numbers make sense. I'll reach out to these people and I'll say, hey, I love your startup, and we'll start a dialogue. First of all, if they don't respond to like hey, I love your startup, then they're probably not going to be a good partner long term. And then before we hop on a call, I'll say, hey, are you open to a partnership? Would love to help grow. And if they say yes, then the word partnership already gets them in. Like, they're thinking equity, and then it's just how much equity is he going to ask for is what they're thinking at that point. And then we'll ask for a number that makes sense, 30 to 50%, sometimes larger if the company's smaller. Our conglomerate, so me and my co-founder Robert, we don't take less than 50% or less than 30%, I think, is the absolute minimum that we take. So that's just the way we do it. If they're not willing to play by our rules, we'll move on to a similar startup. We'll keep going,
Well, I mean, and at that point, it's like positioning, because it's like, hey, look, we know what we can do. Because I've never done the equity piece, but my commissions are pretty similar. Like the lowest ticket I'll do is like 12,000 a year, but at the lowest, I'll take 50% commission, because I'm like, you couldn't hire a guy like, and look at the whole thing and get less than 50. But then the higher the ticket, I think the lowest it's like 30%, but it's interesting because equity is a big one, but I feel like you just got to find the right one, because like, if you don't end up exiting that company or whatever, right? Like it's hard to cash in on that equity, because equity is a long game, or am I wrong on that?
No, you're right. I don't take a salary or anything. That's the whole thing. Like on my last 4 exits that we did, I didn't get a single payout until the company sold. But the payout when the company sold was great. So I don't really like, it doesn't matter. Like, if you zoom out a little bit, you look at how like the actual rich people make their decisions. They don't care if they're getting paid this month or even this year. All they care about is, are they making the right decisions? Even over the course of like a decade or 2 decades, it actually does not matter.
So then are you responsible? So then when you look for companies like that, because if you're going to be a freelance marketer or freelance salesperson and you want to start taking equity, how do you vet companies that be like, all right, this company can sell in 2 or 3 years and I'm willing to wait that, right? But like, how do you vet them on like, this is a company that could sell, this is who would buy it? And then do you also like in your mix start like targeting that company, those types of companies who are going to potentially buy you?
So I'll talk about what happened with the last couple. So The last few that we were looking for, I knew from my audience and just the people that buy, I really wanted a cold email tool. I wanted an AI first lines writing tool. I wanted some kind of social media tool like a tweet hunter. And so that's where we started. And so I reached out to a bunch of these companies. I reached out to a bunch of AI first lines tools, talked to a couple of those founders. I reached out to a few of these cold email sending tools. And then I reached out to a few of these like Tweet Hunter, like Hype Fury, Tweet Hunter, those kind of guys. And then I was talking to the founders of Tweet Hunter. I was trying to get equity in that. They were like, oh, we can't really give equity for the Tweet Hunter thing. It's too big. But we were thinking about doing something on LinkedIn. And then that's where that, I was like, oh, yeah, let's do that. What's the name of it? Oh, Influent Leaders. That name's trash. Let's call it Taplio instead. And then it just got away from there.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So okay. That's cool. So you're looking for like those kinds of things where you can just make a couple quick changes, the name, landing pages, stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm looking for opportunities because I know for Omni it's going to be a multi-year play, but some of them, and actually some of these other ones, I think are going to be multi-year plays too. Like Taplio could be a $10 million exit or $100 million exit at one point if it keeps growing. You know, like
who do you sell to? You sell to like private equity firms? Sell to like VCs? Who do you sell to? Who buys them?
So if it's a small enough company, it's just on MicroAcquire. Like we've sold a few really tiny ones, like 6K on MicroAcquire, 10K to other companies. Like we had a chatbot company that was bought by another company for around 10K, 11K.
Wow.
And then
that's cool.
The other ones,
that's sweet.
Yeah, the higher price ones are strategic buyers.
Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. The higher price ones are strategic buyers. So typically what I found is, like, let's say cold email tool, right? If we get Omni to a good spot, who's going to buy us, bro? Either, Salesforce is always looking for people if we've got revenue high enough, Salesloft if our revenue is not that high, Mailshake if our revenue is not even that high, or if we really want to exit, we sell to somebody like instantly, there's acquirers all along the path there.
Okay, that's cool. And so you just like, and I guess this is where and I'm kind of diving into this, so you can feel free to stop me whenever you want. But I feel like for me, it's just like, man, are these companies just constantly looking to buy? And then how do you capture their attention? Like, hey, this is someone we need to like take seriously and even purchase.
This one, I don't have enough experience there. All I know is businesses are an asset, just like a Rolex watch or whatever. Like if you get your revenue to a certain point, you're worth something, and then people buy it. Yeah.
That's so crazy because you're like, all right, cool. Because I've always wanted to do that. Like I think MicroAcquire, I think what Andrew, I believe his last name is Gazdecki, right? However you pronounce his name. But I've tried to get him on my podcast a couple times. Love his site though, because I think that'd be cool. Like to just be able to like buy. So, but you're saying you don't buy those companies. You like email them and say, hey, I'll take equity, ramp them up, and then sell it, and then get them to a point where they want to sell it, right? Or do you just go on there? You're like, hey, I'll buy it, and then see you guys later, and we'll do it ourselves.
So the space I've been in right now looking for deals is the indie maker space, because these guys know how to develop, which the hardest part to building a SaaS is just getting the initial product done and then having somebody that can develop and fix bugs without having to spend like $4,000 a month or $10,000 a month on a development team. So I look for these guys, that have like $1,000 a month in MRR and aren't sure how to scale it. And all I have to do to basically increase it is make a couple tweaks to the landing page and talk about it on our YouTube channel. That's literally, I'm looking for those type of wins. And there's a surprising number of them out there.
Like Indie Maker's crazy, man. And so, okay. And so then it's like you go for equity. Then you'll email whoever and be like, hey, I like your product. I like your SaaS. We scale companies and we don't charge. We just take equity when you sell. And then it's like, okay, cool.
I don't have it like I don't do it like an offer like that. I just go on, Twitter DM and I'll just open a conversation.
Okay.
I'll be like, hey, huge fan of XYZ company. And then they'll respond and I'll be like, what do I say? Would love to help you guys grow. Are you open to a partnership? And then I'll just see what they say.
Wow, that's cool, man. That's why I love this podcast.
What do we have? Yeah. It wouldn't work if my Twitter profile didn't look the way it did though, right? Like all of the social proof, all the case studies and all of that is in the profile itself. So I trust that the person I'm sending a cold DM to will look at the profile before responding. There's a lot of things that the like sales consultants and marketing consultants don't really grasp is you can't just tell somebody to do XYZ and then it'll work. There's a full shadow world behind every message, meaning like somebody's going to look at a message and then they're going to look at your LinkedIn or they're going to look at your YouTube or they're going to look at your Twitter. And if you don't exist online, it's going to be very hard to make these deals happen. A lot of these people will go out there now and they'll create a fake LinkedIn page for a hot girl and then they'll try to send their cold emails and they'll wonder why it's not working. And it's because that person doesn't exist. And these people are doing research beyond just getting an email and responding to it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true, man. But that's why I love this podcast, because that was the whole vision for my podcast, was like to help just people open up their eyes to different ways to not only like make money, but like leverage what skills they do have. Cause like, you know, you can market. And I was reading, I mean, I've done a lot of like reading and copywriting and stuff, and I just love to read in general, but someone said it's like, you know, the certain fields are like blind mice, and all you have to do to get ahead is have one eye open. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like essentially what he's saying, right? Is like, you don't have to be like, you know, you don't have to be like an Alex Berman marketer if you want to catch some of these little guys and just live your life. But it's still cool that you can open your eyes, you can have these opportunities, and you can just start look if you know where to look, right? And that's what I love doing to help people. I love helping them just like, hey, this is where to look when you're doing these kinds of things. So Indie Maker Twitter, that's just, I mean, I think I know actually a few people.
Well, just look at the people that Andrew from MicroAcquire is following, and just you go on these little rabbit holes. That's the whole thing about Twitter. There's no actual like community that you can go into, or like a group you can join. It's all about who's following who, what's going on, that sort of stuff. So Indie Maker Twitter is just a label. It's not like an actual thing. It's kind of like money Twitter. Like, what is that? Yeah. Who is money Twitter? And it's like sales Twitter, so it's hip hop. Yeah. Yeah. And how is Indie Maker Twitter kind of overlaps with money Twitter, but it also kind of overlaps with Bootstrapper Twitter and is it SaaS?
Well, that's the cool thing.
Funding Twitter, like it's all the same people are in a bunch of these different groups.
Yeah, well, that's the cool thing about Twitter too, because you can search hashtags. So if somebody did put hashtag Indie Maker or like any one of the 50 hashtags, you can search and start hopping in there. Well, I think the easiest way to find them is the who's following who. So if you can find like that's easy. Okay.
a way in to the community. So for instance, for Money Twitter, you might look at my account and see who I'm following, and then you'll get into Money Twitter. You might look at like Cold Email Wizard's account or Cardinal Mason and see who they're following, right? And then you're in Money Twitter. For the maker community, you might look at like a big maker, like look at Tebow, from Tweet Hunter. He's in the maker community. Or I don't know this. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, so I don't want to even say it. Daganarov. He's always posting these memes, or like John Youngfook or whatever. Like all these guys will get you into Indie Maker Twitter.
Oh, that's sick. But that's cool because, as you were talking, it reminded me of just like this thing that I used to grow my podcast, which it's probably been said and somebody said it better than me, but it's just like audience hacking. Right. It's like you always bring people on who want to promote their stuff and you tap into their audience. And now you have like these new audiences. Right. So, yeah, that makes sense. Just like who are they following and who's following them? I guess if they have 1 million followers, it'd be kind of difficult. But yeah, but that's also the other thing that's kind of frustrating. Right. Is like people get into this and they don't realize like how much time it's going to take to actually like get to the point where you can start doing this stuff. It's definitely not, it doesn't take ages, but it doesn't happen in an hour either.
Yeah, I know. So my business model, I wouldn't have been able to do this business model of like becoming a SaaS partner and doing all this shit if I needed the money. There's not a chance, right? Because you need to be able to be willing to either invest money or lose money for years or like all this shit in order to grow. Like some of the, we have one that we're about to launch that I can't even talk about, but it's another Twitter tool. And I'm going to have to spend $3,000 on the marketing, on this tool. Now, did anyone ask me to spend $3,000 on the marketing? No, but I know if we're going to hit the certain goals, I'm just going to spend it and then we're going to hit the goal. So these are some games that I think people aren't used to playing. And it's a game you can't play if you need $3,000. Like if that was a lot of money to me and to the point where like I couldn't lose it, then I wouldn't be able to play the game that I'm playing right now.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. That's how I look at every opportunity is what's it going to take for me to get this done? And if I'm super uncomfortable losing it, then I either got to wait or revisit the strategy. But if you can afford to lose it, then I think, but that also taps in just to like the mindset of being an entrepreneur, which is, and Mark Manson says this well, he's like, don't try. It's like the backwards law. It's like the more you the paradox of control, right? But like, yeah, if you can afford to lose $3,000, the chances of you actually making that back and some are pretty high.
Yeah,
it's when you're desperate.
Sometimes it's higher. Like I've lost more money on stupider shit. I spent $25K this year on random YouTube content, YouTube videos for channels that have under 1,000 subscribers.
That's so awesome. I mean, hey man, I'm trying to get up to 1,000, so that's cool though. But I appreciate that. Well, Alex, you've been more than generous with your time. I really appreciate it. I will put all of your links in the description, but tell people where they can find you, how they can support you, all that good stuff.
Sure. If you want to learn cold email, go over to coldemailmanifesto.com. You can get it for 99 cents. Otherwise, if you're watching on YouTube, go over to youtube.com/Alex Berman or on Twitter, Alex Berman. It's Alex Berman without the E.
Right on. Sounds good. Thank you so much, my friend.